What happens when a former US president tells China to follow America's rules, and China responds by shaking the world's energy markets? Donald Trump just reignited the US-China economic war with a fiery demand. Beijing must follow US trade laws or face consequences. But instead of backing down, China fired back with a stunning move: a $90 billion pivot in global energy investments, threatening to isolate the US from key oil and gas markets. Now, American energy dominance is under fire. The Farm Belt, Wall Street, and global allies are watching closely as the world's two largest powers edge closer to a new kind of Cold War. One not fought with tanks, but with pipelines, oil contracts, and power grids. Is Trump playing 4D chess, or has China just flipped the board? This isn't just political theater, it's the future of energy, and the stakes couldn't be higher. To understand the latest US-China flare-up, we need to rewind the clock. For over 2 decades, the United States and China have been locked in an uneasy economic marriage, trading billions in goods, technology, and natural resources. But beneath the surface, distrust has always simmered. From accusations of intellectual property theft to trade imbalances and supply chain dependencies, the relationship has always been transactional and increasingly fragile. During Donald Trump's presidency, that tension exploded into the open. In 2018, Trump launched a full-scale trade war against China, imposing tariffs on hundreds of billions in Chinese goods. Beijing retaliated. The result: supply chains were disrupted, global markets panicked, and both economies took a hit. But the deeper impact was geopolitical. It marked the beginning of a long-term economic rivalry. Even after leaving office, Trump hasn't backed down. He continues to frame China as the greatest threat to U.S. prosperity, accusing Beijing of unfair trade practices, manipulating currency, and undermining global rules. And now, as 2024 election buzz intensifies, Trump has doubled down, declaring that China must follow U.S. trade laws if it wants access to American market. But here's the twist: China isn't standing still anymore. It's not just retaliating with tariffs, it's reconfiguring the global energy map. In the last 12 months alone, China has secured massive oil and gas deals with nations like Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Brazil. These aren't small-time contracts. We're talking about long-term multi-billion-dollar partnerships, with some analysts estimating a total value of over $90 billion. Why energy? Because that's America's strategic soft spot. Despite being the world's largest oil producer, the U.S. still depends on cooperation from global energy networks, especially in Asia and the Middle East. By locking in resources, ports, and influence, China isn't just buying fuel, it's buying leverage. And it's doing it while bypassing the U.S. From energy deals settled in yuan to new trade routes under the Belt and Road Initiative, China is rewriting the rules of the global economy, right as Trump demands Beijing play by America's rule. The stage is now set for a massive geopolitical collision, one where energy is the new battlefield. Donald Trump isn't just making noise. He's laying out a bold agenda aimed directly at Beijing. His latest statements aren't suggestions, they're ultimatums. In recent rallies and interviews, Trump has declared that any Chinese company operating in the U.S. must comply with American trade laws, financial disclosures, and labor standards. He's even floated the idea of blocking Chinese firms from U.S. capital markets if they fail to cooperate. According to Trump, if China wants access to American consumers, they better play by our rules, or get out. This strategy isn't just political posturing, it's economic warfare. Trump knows that access to U.S. markets is one of China's biggest strengths, and now he's threatening to turn that advantage into a vulnerability. But it doesn't stop there. Trump is also pressuring allies in Europe and Asia to adopt a unified Western stance against China's economic practices. Think of it as a trade-based version of NATO, where nations coordinate on tariffs, tech restrictions, and energy policy to contain Beijing's rise. And in the background, Congress is backing him up. Bipartisan bills are circulating that would restrict U.S. investment in Chinese tech, limit exports of advanced semiconductors, and tighten oversight of Chinese-owned apps and platforms. Wall Street may not love it, but Trump's base eats it up. To them, Trump is finally standing up to a regime that's exploited the global system for too long. He's speaking their language. America first. Jobs first. Energy independence. Yet here's the irony. As Trump turns up the heat, China is quietly shifting the battlefield. While Trump is focused on tariffs, Beijing is orchestrating an energy coup, and the world's oil and gas pipelines are the chessboard. The US might be shouting louder, but China may be moving smarter. And that's what makes this moment so dangerous, because the game isn't just about rules anymore. It's about who gets to write them. While Trump demands compliance, China is executing a masterstroke, not with missiles or sanctions, but with energy diplomacy on a global scale. In just the past year, Beijing has quietly signed energy deals worth an estimated $1890 billion. These include long-term oil and gas supply agreements with Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Brazil, even some African nations. But these aren't just about energy security. They're strategic moves in a global power play. Here's how. First, China is building a parallel energy network, independent of Western control. By securing pipelines, LNG terminals, and shipping lanes, China is insulating itself from any potential US sanctions or blockades in the future. Second, many of these deals are being settled in Chinese yuan, not US dollar. This challenges the petrodollar system, which has been a cornerstone of American global influence since the 1970s. The more countries that accept yuan for oil, the more the US dollar weakens as the world's reserve currency. Third, these energy alliances come bundled with infrastructure investments, military cooperation, and diplomatic leverage. China isn't just buying oil, it's buying loyalty and access in key regions. And finally, this isn't happening in isolation. It's part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, a sweeping vision to build trade, transport, and energy infrastructure across Asia, Europe, and Africa. This $1890 billion energy push is fueling that ambition. Literally. For the US, this is more than a trade concern. It's an existential challenge. If China controls the flow of energy in the developing world and undermines the dollar, then American economic leadership is on the line. Trump may want China to follow US rules, but Beijing's not just rejecting them, it's rewriting them. The ripple effects of China's $1890 billion energy maneuver are already being felt across the globe. Oil markets are reacting with growing volatility as China secures long-term supplies outside Western influence. Traditional buyers, including the US and its allies, are facing tighter competition and higher prices. Brent crude has spiked, and analysts warn we may be entering an era of energy fragmentation, where the world splits into rival supply blocks. Developing nations, once reliant on US energy exports and financing, are now tilting toward China, drawn by easy credit, infrastructure deals, and non-dollar transactions. The International Energy Agency has already flagged China's influence as a disruptive realignment in the global energy order. And let's not forget Europe.